let's talk about the fear of no one liking you. And that's a huge, magnanimous kind of fear that people attach to quite a lot of their OCD fears. And mostly it's often attached with POCD, harm OCD, that kind of like taboo theme stuff. But it's also associated with things like relationship OCD. People can be afraid of, let's say, cheating on their partner and then being known as like a cheater amongst their loved ones and the people that they know and their social circles. And it's especially true for many people who come from like small towns or very tight knit kind of communities and families, and they will be afraid that essentially they will be known as the bad personality or bad person amongst where they live and whatnot. So it's also the sometimes the cultural and environmental context in which this fear can show up. But not to go into reassurance, but also like no one liking you is also just not realistic. Like there's no such thing as no one liking you. Even if you consider people who have been, cancelled or who've gone through that big kind of public display of disgrace, even they have people who are supporting them in their corner and people who maybe are still having an empathetic ear towards them and a compassionate ear towards them. Because there's no one who is left completely like with zero support at all. Even if you consider killers on trial or killers who are in life sentence or whatever, they probably have a mother or father or brother or sister who is visiting them in prison and bringing them meals and stuff like that, and having some level of connection with them, even if there's acknowledgement of the fact that yes, you messed up, but that still can happen. And we have to be a little bit, again, realistic about the tone and the language that we use around it, because when we say that, oh, but what if no one likes me, like there are like more than 8 billion people in the world, what do you mean no one will like you? Like there might not be a ton of people that like you, but there might still be someone. And let's say you even do have 10, 15, 20 people in your life who like you. You're not going to feel their likeness every single day. That's not really what happens. It's not like people in your life in rotation are telling you that they love you or they like you, and they're very fond of you. Like I have a lot of friends. I'm very lucky and grateful to have quite a lot of friends. I have a really good family. They're not telling me all the time. I'm right now sitting over here, I don't feel their love. I don't. I mean, there's nothing that's feeding me that level of affection and validation and acceptance of them. So you can have people in your life who like you, but you're not going to feel that likeness all the time anyway. So when you don't have people that like you in your life and you don't have a lot of them, it's kind of like a similar-ish feeling as well. It's the absence of that feeling of connection, likeness, affection as well. I think this is maybe also the reason a lot of people struggled with, in COVID as well, which is when they didn't have that level of human interaction in person with people, I mean, it started to feel like there was a big, huge emptiness as well. But then there were also people like me, and I know other people like me as well. And I'm not saying one is better than the other at all. I'm just saying it's just a different version and a different perspective of things. I was very okay with during COVID times, to be honest, because I've always been okay with my own company. I've always liked being by myself as well. I mean, I'm what they would consider like an ambivert. I don't usually ascribe by any terminologies necessarily, to be honest. I don't fit myself into like a box of like, hey, I'm an introvert or an extrovert or something. But I am someone who is a mix of both. I love going out, I love meeting people, I love socializing, but I also equally enjoy me time and time by myself. I can go stretches of time by myself and not be socializing and meeting a ton of people at all, which sometimes can, for some people, can be a bit unnerving, because they're like, how can you not want to be around other people? But I mean, again, I'm okay with both. I like the balance of both. But many people will, and that's also because I've come to a place of being able to accept myself and and have some likeness of myself as well, which I for some time I didn't, and which doesn't equate to self love. Elliot and I did a real talk which went up on the YouTube channel 2 days ago, and it is about unhealthy comparison with other people, and we touched on the concept of self love and all of that. So definitely give that a watch. So liking yourself and accepting yourself is very different from self love anyway. So when you are able to accept yourself, you also don't feel like your life is dependent on other people liking you, which is why, like, when I go through, moments and times, even like right now, where I'm not feeling the love and affection from other people, I'm quite content in myself. I'm still okay with not feeling that. I'm okay with having the absence of that feeling of likeness and love and affection and acceptance in my life. So when we're looking at the fear of no one liking you, and it's not an ideal situation to be in, but maybe circumstance can then force you to also like your own company. It can maybe push you in the direction of maybe confronting yourself that you maybe don't want to, and not being able to sit with yourself, and that's something that you might have to do to eventually find that. And I think that's one of the reasons that other people's like rejection doesn't scare me anymore, is because now I have, I would say, a little bit of that confidence of like, if I don't have anyone else, I do have me in the end, and I'm okay, and I like my own company. It's not that I won't have any reaction at all. It's not indifference. Like if some of my closest friends stopped speaking to me, or my family like kind of like distance themselves from me or something like that, I wouldn't feel great. I literally would not feel great. And it would break my heart as well. So it's not indifference, but there is also acceptance of that notion that it is a possibility, and also knowing that even in that unfortunate circumstance, there's not all is lost in that way, right? So that's kind of like the notion that at least I live with. um, and there's so many different ways that context fits into my life in very realistic ways, because there are certain things about me that I'm not like super public about, for instance, right? And I think if I were to be public about them, then it would lead to quite a lot of rejection, honestly, from a lot of people, So I tend to not like go into that, and I tend to not be super open about that way. So there's a certain realistic context as well to that. It's not just a what if thing that, oh, what if I lose control and I harm other people, and therefore I will be rejected. No, there are real implications in my life as well. So it's not just a what if theoretical thing I have to live with. I have to live with the acceptance that that actually might happen one day as well, right? And there are many people who have that realistic possibility. It's not just an OCD thing. It is like a real thing, especially within the kind of world that we live in right now. Because now, I was saying this to someone on a one-to-one call the other day as well, that we just live in a day and time where I think everyone has to possibly grapple with the fact that at any moment their life or their personal details can become public. That's just the time we live in. That's just how social media operates. Like, even if we look at something like the Coldplay concert moment, where there was that guy with his HR woman. It became a worldwide story, and it's essentially someone who was living a very private life in whatever capacity. Now their life has become so public. Even something as simple as, oh, this person is a coffee addict and they love coffee flavored things. Yes, that's me, by the way. But like, even someone else on the internet, like that, it's a very mundane, simple piece of information, but that can essentially just become public information so suddenly. People who uploaded just a random video on the internet thinking it will go nowhere have now become worldwide memes, and their faces are still used in those memes, and now they have public attention. People Google them. People now know their personal details. People know where they're from, their family, their background, their education. And so it is also part of just the world we live in now, where me sitting, let's say, on the eastern side of the world can feel immediately very, very connected, and in a very parasocial way, very close to someone who is sitting thousands of miles away, and feeling like I'm planted in their life. I am a part of their life. So when I look at people online, that's how we all feel. When we look at influencers or accounts we follow, we feel like we are a part of their life. Some people watching our videos, by the way, feel like they're a part of our life because they've become accustomed to our personalities, way of talking, the personal details we share from our life. Nick sharing, his dogs, like Gemma showing her life as a mom and speaking about her life as a mom, and also just someone who, as a woman who recovered from OCD, dealing with a lot of different things just on her own. So there are so many. Everyone brings a different flavor, and everyone then we're all like our own kind of like personalities, and people on the channel kind of know us as different personalities as well. And that's just the nature again, and whether it's good or bad, I mean, that's a separate debate. In fact, that's a much larger and much more complex debate as well. But there are pros to it, but at the same time there's also a lot of cons to it, admittedly, as well, that your life can become public at any point. Like, just the fact that you converse with someone on WhatsApp, even if it's just a normal conversation, can essentially become public information at any point, whether the other person is sharing it with their friends or uploading screenshots online or something like that. So there's an element of being careful. Yes, I do admit that. Especially with dating, by the way, this is a very tricky thing, because many people will share intimate details or pictures, and again, there's nothing against that as well. Everyone to each their own, but at the same time, those things have also led to quite a lot of trouble as well, because you never know, if your phone gets hacked, then someone else's pictures can get out there as well. And I mean, there's so many things, like if someone gets drunk and then they send pictures or videos or texts that they shouldn't be sending, so, and then that becomes public as well, and someone who is in a fit of rage or something can go online and tag you and be like, oh, this person said this to me or did this to me, or this is how they reacted to me, and then because they just want to make it a public conversation then. So those are realities we do live with, and we do have to grapple and accept the fact that's just how the world is, and there's always a little bit of that possibility. Again, the worst case scenario of happening is never like completely 0%. There's always a certain percentage, even if it's a lower percentage, that it can happen. But again, I've gone on a bit of a tangent, and I've spoken about a ton of things over here, and of course there's a lot of a lot to kind of pick apart over here, and I can be sitting here for like 30-40 minutes talking about that more. But I think I like covering things in a bit of a sociological way as well, because we have to be able to place our OCD fears in some level of reality as well, because again, OCD does feel real, and also we do have to, yes, we do consider real circumstances as well when we are talking about fears, and when we are talking about breaking down our worst fears as well, we have to be able to look at some realistic, adaptable logistics of our life as well. How will it play out? What will happen? So when it also comes to like the fear of no one liking you, I can understand, especially with the age of social media as well and how public things can become. Yes, there's an element of many people disliking you, but most people that are watching this video are also not super public figures too. I'll So you are someone who might not even have to grapple with that big of a gigantic fear of like no one likes me. Like if you talk about like a person like, maybe, I don't know, Harvey Weinstein or P Diddy right now, who's on trial. In fact, I think his trial just ended. But if you consider people like that, that's a completely different story as well, because they're worldwide, world known figures in that way. But I'll give another more simple everyday example. Like I have a friend who is about, I think, 5 years younger than me, 5 or 6 years. And so, I mean, when he was still in college, I was obviously like many years out of college by that point and whatnot. So I went, and he went to the same university that I did. So one day I was visiting my university and I met up with him, and I was like, oh, so how's life going and whatnot? And he said, yeah, I was recently cancelled. And I was like, what? Like, you're not even a public figure. What does that mean? And I think in the small social bubble of the university, And you know, because obviously if you're in university, then you are following each other on Instagram and Twitter, X, whatever. And that becomes your, even online, that becomes your life as well. Those are the people that you meet up with, and those are the people that you're interacting with online. So it's like a little, almost like, yeah, it's a little bubble. It's a bounded kind of reality that you're living in that way, right? My camera keeps slipping, sorry. And I was like, what were you cancelled about? And he said, well, I was kind of casually dating three people at the same time, and it wasn't even an official relationship with anyone. I did not feel bound to tell each and every single person that, hey, by the way, I'm also casually just seeing this other person and that person. And look, I mean, and dating is complicated these days, and that's a separate topic about what's good etiquette in dating and what's bad. But literally, that's a separate topic, and it's a huge kind of like thing. But overall, like, and he said, you know, so then one girl found out, and then, you know, she put it on Twitter, and then all other people who were following her, which were obviously part of the university, also saw that. And then people thought, oh, I was some kind of like serial cheater who was manipulating and lying to these girls and whatnot, right? So, and this is a relationship OCD nightmare for quite a few people. And that was back in college, and of course I think it made his days over there a bit difficult as well, because obviously there were a lot of people who knew something personal about him, and they had opinions about it and whatnot. But now, I mean, quite a few years have passed. He is now working. He also travels for his work as well. He has new people in his life, and life has moved on. And now, you know, it's a completely different life. And when he looks back on that time when he was cancelled in university, like, it seems so far away. And also, because he's not in university right now, he's not in that context right now, he doesn't feel like that sting anymore, because just life has changed. So when you are environmentally as well, when you're in a specific context, it can feel like your entire world. And that's why the fear level can be that high, because the discomfort feels that high. But when your circumstances also change, and when you move to another city, you go to another job, or just when life in itself progresses as well, naturally you also get to, and I'm talking about this slightly from a non-OCD angle as well, you also get to tune out of that as well. And you can start to see that you create a little bit of that emotional but also logistical distance with that life where you were semi-cancelled, or where you were in some ways publicly denounced as someone who was displaying bad behavior as well. So these are some realities that we have to consider too. Like, I think, like, there's someone else that I work with who lived in a small town and had a fear of like harm OCD in several different contexts, and had a fear that if, you know, something happens and I lose control and whatnot, then, you know, people around me will dislike me, they will hate me and whatnot. But now she has moved to a bigger city for a new job, and she moved out of her family house and whatnot, and it gave her more clarity, and she was able to also see the rational thinking and believe it a bit more as well, because now she's away from that small town. So now the thought of people disliking her back home doesn't weigh heavy on her as much anymore, because she can see that how much of it was due to also just the world that she was living in at the time. So, just some thoughts for you to consider when it comes to the fear that no one will ever like me, and, you know, literally all 8+ billion people are going to hate me, kind of thing. That has to be like a very rare percentage of people who are completely disliked or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Even the devil is not unanimously disliked, because people do like indulging in what they might perceive as, if you're religious, I'm only talking in that context. Like, people still like indulging in what the devil might be persuading you to do, kind of thing. So even the devil isn't disliked. So, like, I mean, hey, if the devil isn't disliked worldwide, then you have hope. Let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy this video. Let me know your thoughts. Pop your comments and questions below, and I'll see you soon. Bye.